Huh. Hey, welcome to a real airport. That's right, we're gonna fly. Come on, we don't want to miss our flight. Today we're gonna fly out of Germany. The airport we'll be flying into is the Berlin Brandenburg Airport, which is just outside of Berlin and basically right in the center of Brandenburg. Oh hey, we've arrived. Come on, let's go. Now that we've arrived at our destination, let's talk facts. This is Brandenburg, a state located in the northeastern side of Germany. Brandenburg is just a little larger than the state of Massachusetts, with an area of 11.4 thousand square miles, or about 7.3 million acres, and a population of about 2.5 million people. While the official website of Brandenburg states that it is the fastest growing, this does not refer to their population, as it has peaked at 2.7 million in 1950, and has only minorly fluctuated around the 2.5 million mark since then. This statement also does not apply to their land area because they have not expanded their borders whatsoever. So, let's talk about transportation. To get around, you have a few options. There are roads nearly everywhere, and so cars are a great choice if you have one. Otherwise, there are a few regional trains that have a few stops around the state, and buses can get you between there and your main destinations. And I would say that cars are probably the best way to get around, and all the travel guides would agree. There are also some boats, and they can travel the rivers and waterways. So when visiting Brandenburg, you may notice the dense forest and agricultural land use. The dense forest mainly can be found in the Lower Oder Valley National Park, which focuses on preserving the natural fauna and beautiful landscapes. The forest generally takes up about a third of the state, while agricultural land takes up about another half of the state. The agricultural land is also focused on preserving natural fauna and landscape. But no, I'm just kidding. Because actually it's focused on food. Because humans are hungry. The crops that you can find here are various grains, potatoes, and beets. These are the main ones that make up most of the industry. And then you can also find apples, cherries, asparagus, peas, and cucumbers. You will also find some livestock, which is integral in sausage production, as well as the production of butter and cheese. A particularly important area is the Spree Forest, because it is the ideal growing region of gherkins. You may know them as pickles. Spreewald gherkins are some of the biggest export of Brandenburg because of the Spree Forest and its extensive floodplain, which are just so dang good at growing those cucumbers. Let's talk cities. But before we do, I have something very important to address. Inside Brandenburg, you'll find Berlin, but Berlin is not part of Brandenburg. Brandenburg exists around Berlin. And Berlin is its own thing. Are you still with me? Good. The capital of Brandenburg is Potsdam, which neighbors Berlin to the west. Potsdam is where things happen. We have movies being produced by Studio Babelsberg, who had a hand in making movies like Around the World in 80 Days, The Bourne Supremacy, V for Vendetta, The Bourne Ultimatum, Speed Racer, Beauty and the Beast, not the Disney one, The Book Thief, Grand Budapest Hotel, Bridge of Spies, The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2, and Charlie's Angels, the 2019 one, and Uncharted, which is in theaters now. In Potsdam, you can also look around at the European architecture, like the Brandenburg Gate, and even get a tour of some of the historical facts along the way. The next city is Cottbus, which is known as the cultural center of Brandenburg, and likely where the tourists will flock to. There is a handful of museums here, like the Airfield Museum, Spaceflight Planetarium, the Human Rights Center and Cottbus Prison Memorial, Cottbus City Museum, Brandenburg Pharmacy Museum, and the Brandenburg State Museum of Modern Art. And the Cottbus Zoo. No, I can't forget that one. In Brandenburg, you will also find Frankfurt. Not the one with the airport. This is Frankfurt on the Oder, which sits next to the Oder River, hence the name. There's not much to see here, I just thought it was fun to mention. Instead, continue up north on the Oder River to the Lower Oder Valley National Park, which I already mentioned. But I did not mention that it sits north of Frankfurt on the Oder, in the north and most east part of Brandenburg, in the city of Schwedt. They also do canoe tours, which I bet you weren't expecting. Likewise, you can also take a canoe tour of Lubenau, where you can find the Spree Forest. And while you're at it, pick up some of those delicious Svewald gherkins. Another fun stop is the Tier- und Freizeitpark Germendorf. Oh, I didn't butcher that one too much. Here you can see the life-size recreations of dinosaurs and other statues of animals, old and modern, as well as some live animals in their zoo section. Particularly, here's an angry goose. To wrap up our time at Brandenburg, let's talk about some noteworthy people that came from Brandenburg. There is Wilhelm von Humboldt, who founded the Humboldt University of Berlin. There's also Wolfgang Joop, a fashion designer who founded the fashion company Joop. Henry Mask, a professional boxer who won the IBF light heavyweight title in 1993 after his 20th match. He won 31 matches and only lost one match. He lost to Virgil Hill in 1996, losing him the IBF title, but he rematched Virgil Hill in 2007 and won. There were also two German Olympians, Britta Steffen, a freestyle sprint swimmer champion, and Robert Harting, a discus throwing champion. They both earned gold medals in their times at the Olympics. Lastly, I will mention Paul van Dyk, a DJ, musician, and record producer, who won a Grammy Award nomination in 2003 and the title of the world's #1 DJ in both 2005 and 2006. And now I want to thank you all for joining me on this short and wonderful trip to Brandenburg. I hope you've all learned something new, and I've given you plenty of reason to visit Brandenburg. If not, then here's a waterfall of all the images I showed earlier, and hopefully you can remember some of the reasons that you should visit. I hope you visit very soon. Auf Wiedersehen! Oh.